Ladies and gentlemen, internet, my name is Peridiam, and let's be honest, this video is bound to happen at some point. I don't think it's a revelation to state that Big Brother twists have often not worked. And I am not trying to be a Debbie Downer here or a cynic. I am talking about the simple fact that they just weren't utilized the way the producers wanted, or fell apart earlier than they expected, or just outright flopped. They failed. Like, indisputably. And I debated making this a ranking, you know I would, but after going through the long resume of potential nominees, I realized it would be more fun to just go down the line and call as many of them out as I can. I might miss a few, but hey, maybe that's fitting for this video topic. Also, let it be known, even though these twists all flopped, at least by my definition, this heap of failure is a big part of what makes unscripted social strategic games all the better. While yes, I will be dunking on these twists for the next 15 or 20 minutes, it needs to be said that unscripted games are difficult to control. By nature, they aren't supposed to be predetermined, so when you think up a cool idea that could be fun to spice things up, there's always a big risk that it'll fall apart by the end of the first week. Or conversely, it's a season-long twist that barely makes a difference all season. Y'all, I've been watching Big Brother for over 10 years. The number of ridiculous but kind of cool twists I've read about online that would likely fall apart within like a few days is countless. And that's okay. Without the potential to flop, there's less risk, less suspense, and sometimes less reward. Also, sometimes the flop is the reward, albeit unintentionally.
Caitlyn was evicted from the Big Brother house, but she has received the bonus life, which now gives her a chance to save her game. Then get on your mark. Get set.
30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds remaining. 10 seconds remaining. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The first flop twist is going to start us off on a tame note because it's also turned into one of the greatest twists of the entire show, to the point where it's not even a twist anymore. It's just a part of the DNA. I am talking about the silver power of veto from Big Brother 3. Ah yes, the silver power veto, the "mom, it's just a phase" of the veto history. The first version of the now famous golden power of veto, the silver version, was a definite bust. It was used only once all season, that being in the first week, and literally every week after that it was comfortably stowed away back in its box, never to be used or seen until the next comp. The best part about the silver veto on BB3 is when it goes away and turns into the golden one at the final 5. Also, it gives Jerry a big head if veto-itis, similar to HOH-itis, the first case we've seen of this disastrous illness that afflicts players once they put the veto around their neck. It's probably the most important flop in the history of the show, so at least there's that. The next flop is in Big Brother 4 with the Exes twist. These 5 Exes entered the game to do two things: serve as a foil for the first 8 players who walked in, and then stir up drama throughout the season. The only problem is that 2 of the 5 Exes were evicted in the first 2 weeks, and then 2 more were totally at peace with their ex, that being Robert and G. That barely any drama arose. It's important to realize that BB4 was cast to be a lot trashier than its predecessor. The angle with this twist wasn't about love or friendship. It was all about the worst parts of having an ex locked away with you in a house for the entire summer. And that's not what we got. Now for Big Brother 5, I do want to quickly say that I think the producers didn't anticipate Project DNA with the long-lost siblings between Cowboy and Nokomis to get discovered or resolved after only a couple of episodes. I gotta imagine they expected it would at least give them more mileage than a dead story by the end of week 1. It was certainly compelling to watch it in those first few episodes, and maybe that was the point, that was the hook, but something tells me this draw was supposed to last longer. Big Brother 6 is a great one for the flop twist. The secret duos pairing was intended to create a summer of secrets where the players would vie for $1 million instead of the usual $500,000, and if they reached the end with their secret partner, they would both win out, basically rendering the final 2 pointless. The problem was that as fun as the twist and dynamic as it made the split house later become, the secret pairs were discovered within like the first 24, 48, 72 hours. And after that, it wasn't a thing to be considered for the rest of the season. It was one of those, oh, right, those two know each other outside the game. Cool, I guess. Forgot about that. Big Brother 7's flop of a twist was actually a blessing, as we saw the you reap what you sow challenge give us some great entertainment between Howie and Danielle. Mike Boogie went on to win the most powerful advantage in the history of the show, the coup d'etat, but because he was either the HOH or in a good position, he never needed to use it. And he never did. He also had to keep it a secret, so it never even factored much into the narrative on the episodes. For Big Brother 8, we had the rivals twist, if you guys remember that, where 3 players had their rivals brought into the game to stir up trouble. Rivals, yeah. And unlike the Exes twist from Big Brother 4, this did cause a stir, but it also resulted in 2 of the 3 exes getting evicted in the first 2 weeks. Likewise, Eric, who was America's player, struggled all season to go with America's wishes to play a game he didn't want to play. While he signed up for it, and I would hesitate to call this twist a flop, given it gave the producers and a lot of America what they wanted to see, it is still funny to see a twist turn on itself and basically destroy its own game.
Is it really a benefit to keep both of them? I don't. This might be like the biggest mistake like ever.
There's definitely a possibility that Eric has a secret agenda, and I wouldn't put it past him. If he really cared and wanted to do exactly what I thought, he would use the power veto.
Trust me, I completely see the dilemma.
They say to expect the unexpected, and that is why I am choosing to not use the power of veto this week.
For Big Brother 9, the first flop is that the season happened. The second flop is that Exes Jacob and Sharon were evicted by day 2, although Sharon got to come back unintentionally a little later on. The third flop is when Jen and Ryan were outed as a secret pair halfway into week 1, and it got really ugly by the end of the week and the entire dynamic was split up. But honestly, I've given up trying to make sense of this season. Big Brother 12 had the infamous saboteur twist, which is just one of the all-time greatest flops in the history of the show. Kind of like if the show The Mole had the mole get uncovered by the end of the first episode. Yeah, not great. Basically, a player was secretly a saboteur. They were pulling off pranks and sabotages in the house and had to reach the halfway point of the season, at which point they would take an early exit with a fat stack of cash. It was supposed to create like a whodunit murder mystery affair each week and would keep the players on their toes, unsure if they could trust their own allies. But then the saboteur, Annie, was evicted by the end of the first week, and it wasn't even because she was outed as the saboteur. That really didn't play into any part of the storyline. She just flamed out. She played a bad game and got herself voted out. What are the odds? I would have loved to see the producers' faces that week. Big Brother 15 had the MVP twist that resulted in a player secretly being given the power to nominate a third person each week. America voted for their favorite player to win this power, and for several weeks it kept going to the same person, Alyssa, the sister of former player Rachel. And that made sense. Alyssa was benefiting from her famous sister's popularity. But then after a few weeks, the producers switched it up to make the twist less stale and more interesting, and told America they were now voting for who they wanted to nominate as the third nominee themselves. America became the MVP, and despite this, America kept nominating Alyssa every week anyway. The producers say vote, America says how many times.
I felt betrayed. I thought that I made progress with some of the house guests and I had felt loyalty with a lot of them. It's a stab in the back.
You know what? If America did honestly pick her, then the fans that watch this show are all pieces.
Big Brother 16 saw Joey, one of the founding members of the iconic Team America twist, get voted out in week 1. She had to get replaced quickly after. Also, Battle of the Block, a massive twist that resulted in 2 HOHs and 4 nominees each week, wound up making the game become pretty boring. It resulted in the same strategy every single week: nominate a pawn, throw the competition, evict the outsider, rinse and repeat. I understand that a lot of weeks of Big Brother had similar gameplay regardless of this twist, but the point of this twist was to cause chaos. With HOHs getting evicted in the same week they won, with there being even more noms making more people angry, there was supposed to be a power struggle, and that really didn't happen at all. Turns out none of that was the case, and both times it was implemented, this season and Big Brother 17 resulted in the players just gaming the system to make the strategy surrounding it not that exciting. Big Brother 17 has the Mac Daddy of all flop twists. I certainly wasn't ready for this failure to take over the video, but it's gotta be an easy mention. I am talking about one of my favorite lead balloons of a flop twist, the Big Brother Takeover. Each week, a new celebrity figure would take over the week with a new twist of some sort, featuring the likes of Phil, the host from The Amazing Race, Kathy Griffin, and Rob Gronkowski. They always introduce something to make the week slightly different, but then after week 3, the takeover disappeared. It just stopped happening. Like, Gronk's party died so quickly, everyone went over to the neighbor's house party instead, and I can't believe this twist deflated so quickly, so fast. Also, the secret twins, Liz and Julia, were discovered in the first week. The producers tried to replicate the success of Big Brother 5's twist, and I wouldn't really say it worked. You can't replicate the magic that was Jace turning into a dead fish on the sofa after that twin reveal. That's a high we will never hit again. Big Brother 18 had the round trip ticket, which I love the secret room aspect of. I love how the players had to uncover this twist, but the twist itself was just so not interesting at all. Every player who found an envelope would have a 1 in 12 shot at a second chance in the game if they got evicted. One of the envelopes was basically like Willy Wonka's golden ticket, but the player who had the golden ticket was never evicted, so it didn't really matter. But the producers wasted so much time each eviction just waiting for the player to open their envelope, only to show us they were truly donezo. Again, it is such a non-event, non-starter of a twist, and I both love and hate it for that.
And it appears
Big Brother 19 had the Tree of Temptation. For 3 weeks, temptation apples were presented. They could do good things or bad things, and only one player could grab an apple each week. We saw Mark grab an apple the first week, but then nobody took an apple in week 2 or 3 because everyone was on the same page about it. They just ignored it. I guess you could say they weren't tempted. There was also the temptation competition, where if you participated in the comp and won the competition, you would get safety for the week, but if you lost, you get instantly nominated. This comp was gamed by the underdogs, where both Jess and Cody tried to both win and lose it at the same time, and that forced the rest of the house to do the same thing to stop them. It was a fun dynamic to watch play out, but for sure it was counter to what the producers were hoping for. Or at least that's my bet. I don't think the producers generally like it when players try to throw competitions, and so to have one where that was the prevailing strategy kinda seemed unintentionally backwards, not by design. In Big Brother 20, we have the iconic Caitlyn puzzle fail. There were also 3 power-ups doled out, and 2 of them weren't used. Meanwhile, the third resulted in what should have been a guaranteed return for whoever got evicted, instead resulting in an unintentional hilarious moment. Again, you can't script this stuff. BB21 had Camp Comeback, which was a PR nightmare. Meanwhile, the activity comp powers, similar to the power apps, were basically unused power apps from BB20 that also never got used. Except Jack's, where he could randomly change who played in the veto, which really wasn't that interesting. And then Big Brother 22 has the oh-so-relevant Neighbors twist, which I'm not even entirely sure was a twist. It was billed as one, where it had Dr. Will return to the house to stand on the bordering wall and talk about extra cash and prizes the players would be tempted by throughout the week. Will was on the season for less time than you can buy a cameo from him, and the extra prizes themselves were nothing to write home about. Also, whoever controlled the graphics behind Julie on the TV screen unintentionally revealed the triple eviction twist before she could mention it, which took a lot of the surprise out of the moment.
we're going to keep them in the dark just a little bit longer.
12 seconds later.
It's a triple eviction.
Wait, what?
Oh my god.
Like I said at the start of this long journey, there were so many flops to talk about, I figured it was more worthwhile to just bring them all up and revel in all their glory. It's a lot to take in, but I guess I will just end by saying I still give kudos and props to the producers for at least trying something different, even in spite of all of this. While it's true the first step to failure is trying, it's also important to remember that it's not about how many times you flop, but how many times you get back up. Chew on that for a minute. While you're chewing on that, I want to say thanks to my patrons for all your support, for not flopping on me where it counts, and to everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed the vid. Don't forget to think up new future twists in the comment section below on your way out, and I will see you in the next one once I belly flop into that future think tank video.
3, 2, 1.
Oh my god.
Goes over there too.